The circle on your screen is around 12th Ward Alderwoman Julia Ramirez. She and her staffer were swarmed by a group of protesters in Brighton Park today. All of it caught on CBS 2 cameras. Neighbors are angry about a plan for a migrant tent base camp there.
The mayor calling today's confrontation an attack, while the alderwoman says she understands her constituents' frustrations.
In a statement earlier, Mayor Brandon Johnson said what happened today is unconscionable. Any violent act against an elected official in our city is unacceptable and must be condemned in the strongest terms. My office and the Chicago Police Department are currently investigating this incident.
Okay, people, the city of Chicago has some serious issues happening. On one side, you got the citizens protesting migrants all over the city and even getting mad and attacking some elected officials. Then on the other side, you got migrants protesting the city's plan to house them in tents, calling the mayor and the city government essentially Nazis and that they are living under a Hitler regime. This is like insane. Now, if you don't know what's going on, here's a quick and dirty recap. Chicago prides itself on being a sanctuary city, open to all migrants. The politicians of Chicago pride themselves on calling people who want to close the American southern border racist. Now, as the migrant crisis exploded at the southern border because of President Biden's pro-immigration policy, the border states started sending migrants to places like New York, Chicago, who were welcoming to migrants. For example, here is New York governor begging for migrants to come to New York.
We want people to come here, despite where they came from or despite the circumstances that drove them to this country and to this state. We say you are welcome here. We are welcome with open arms, and we'll work to keep you safe. We'll not only house you, but we'll protect you. And the richness of the culture and the diversity and the food and the restaurants that we know are going to be coming because of these efforts are beyond measure. It's an extraordinary part of our story, and it's woven into the story of New York, and it makes us more vibrant.
So the border states sent migrants to New York and Chicago because they wanted them.
Chicago became the third location where Texas sent asylum seekers who've crossed the U.S.-Mexico border. Chicago's Democrat mayor called Governor Abbott's strategy racist and xenophobic. Abbott's office says if Chicago has a problem with it, they should take it up with President Biden.
Now, obviously, you guys know this turned into a disaster because Chicago forgot that there was no room for thousands of new people. Where were they going to go sleep? Who was going to take care of them? You had a lot of issues. So what did Chicago do? Well, they started putting migrants in police stations and literally having them sleep in tents on the streets outside of police stations.
Wall-to-wall tents. Every square inch of the sidewalk in front of the 18th Police District is used for sheltering migrants. There is so little room left. Adriana Colina and her family were forced to find space under a tree across the street. Colina just arrived with her 3 boys under the age of 7. She tells us, I didn't think there was so much population here at the police station. I thought it would be very different. I thought everything was going to be very fast with the shelter. According to city data, the 18th Police District, located at the corner of Division and Larrabee, has close to 300 migrants living here. Overall, there are over 3,000 new arrivals living at police stations throughout the city.
See, you heard that right. 3,000 migrants living at police stations. So the citizens of Chicago started calling on the city to end the sanctuary city status and start sending migrants back to their country.
As more buses carrying migrants arrive every day, Chicago's designation as a sanctuary city is waning among likely voters, according to a new poll conducted by M3 Strategies.
A majority of Chicagoans prefer to end sanctuary city versus keep it.
But the mayor is defiant, claiming that Chicago will continue to be a sanctuary city where migrants can be safe to come.
We've seen police stations saturated, volunteers stretched thin. With all of that said, will Chicago continue to be a welcoming sanctuary city?
Yes. Look, during difficult times, sometimes there are individuals who feel the pressure, and sometimes our values are called into question. We're the city of Chicago, and this mission that the entire country has endured over the last year and a half, has been one that, of course, that has pressed our convictions. But we don't necessarily have to acquiesce to fear because we are being pressed.
So the people of Chicago have then started turning on the mayor, claiming that they have buyer's remorse for voting for this guy.
I'm standing here tonight with buyer's remorse because I supported Mayor Brandon Johnson. I feel like a fool right now. I feel like a plum fool. But I tell you what, it's okay. Because as I said last night, you can slap us in the face by ignoring us today, but we are punching you in the face by ignoring you at the polling places tomorrow.
Now, even the migrants, who the mayor is defending, are now calling out the mayor, claiming that he's like Adolf Hitler and that the mayor is essentially putting them in concentration camps. I'm not joking.
And I am with United Giving Hope, which is a non-for-profit organization that serves humanity beyond borders. Today, as a citizen of the United States of America, knowing how great our nation is, knowing how rich we are in many aspects, and knowing the values that we have as Americans, this is unacceptable, inappropriate treatment of human beings. And if we want to look at history in America and in general what has been taught to us, there was a leader in Germany years ago, and his name was Adolf Hitler. And he came into office for a few months, and he created concentration camps. This is not the exact same thing, but it's very much a parallel of taking human beings and telling them that they are less worthy of being allowed to simulate into our society. This is not the answer of herding them into a tent city.
So now the migrants are demanding that the city pay for their housing, take care of them. Remember, they crossed the border. They have that right. So the mayor is continuing on the path of placing migrants in tent cities in poor neighborhoods, but the citizens in those neighborhoods are fighting back, protesting the mayor's plan. See, one of the mayor's allies, a city councilwoman, was physically attacked by Chicago citizens protesting the tent city plan.
Take a look at the middle of your screen. A Chicago alderwoman swarmed by a group of protesters angry over a plan to house migrants in Brighton Park. Now at 4, Mayor Brandon Johnson condemns the protesters' actions, calling them unconscionable.
So the mayor is now sending a delegation to the southern border to, quote, warn migrants to stay out of Chicago.
Community leaders here say San Antonio is largely a transit hub. Hundreds of thousands of migrants have passed through here, and now Chicago and Illinois state leaders are here on the ground, in part trying to slow that stream of migrants to Chicago.
Now, this is the crazy part. The sanctuary city of Chicago now doesn't want migrants to come to Chicago. Wow, how things have changed. Here is what they're telling migrants at the border.
So you have helped communicate to people Chicago is full.
Absolutely.
A small delegation of Chicago and state leaders are making their way across border cities, meeting Texas leaders and doubling down on that message and preparing migrants who do make the 1,500-mile trek.
That they have shoes, that they have clothing, they have winter gear.
The county will partner with the city, and we will send down a video and let those who are coming to Chicago know the truth about Chicago, the conditions, where to find resources, and to possibly, let them know there might be another city that fits your needs.
Their warnings are little more than white noise to optimistic asylum seekers.
So essentially, Chicago sent a delegation to the border to tell people to go somewhere else. So the open arms of liberal sanctuary city Chicago have now turned into the horrors of illegal immigration. Remember, they called those who said close the border racist. Now, these are the same people who are essentially closing the border to the city of Chicago. Go somewhere else. It seems like they are now the racist. And think about this, people. They want these migrants to still come into the United States, but they just don't want them to come to Chicago. How hypocritical is that? Why make it someone else's problem. I honestly think the people of Chicago are getting what they deserve. Tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section. Tell me where you disagree. My name is Nate the Lawyer. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe to all the great YouTube stuff. And I'll see you next time. Peace.